the iPhone 15 Pro Max has been in my pocket for about 6 months at this point. It's been great. Day and night I've used it, charged it every day, used it like I always do, and it's been really amazing. I love the device. Except for a few small things. Now, as someone who shoots all of my photos and videos on an iPhone, because I don't have a camera, I can confirm it's really awesome. And I say that because not only the quality and how it looks in general, 48 megapixels, but it's also how easy it is to set up and shoot. Like, it really is the definition of a point and shoot camera, but it looks really awesome. You know, I've always recorded videos on this channel with an iPhone. Recording this one right now, I think it looks pretty good. I'm using cinematic mode on the iPhone 15 Pro Max. I think it looks awesome and it works for me. But I should also add that it's very reliable. Like, if you want it to work, it works. It tends to be very good in almost all light. Of course, as it gets dimmer, it begins to get a little bit grainier, but that's just kind of what you have to accept with a sensor that fits inside of a smartphone. But the realism and the ease of use and the amazing quality are all factors which make the iPhone camera fantastic. Now, as far as the battery is concerned, right, so this is a 15 Pro Max, which means, number one, it's big, but it also has room for a really massive battery. Now, overall, each day, I really honestly finish the day with about 30 to 40% left. The battery lasts all day long, and I typically never really have any issues with it. Now, I should also mention, my battery health is currently at 100%. I believe I have around 65, 70 charge cycles on there, something like that. And so we're still at 100%, which means it is still functioning at its peak capacity. But at its peak capacity, it is a really solid battery. And speaking of batteries, what's powered by this amazing battery is actually the display. And I don't want to bore you with all the numbers, but the display is 2000 nits of brightness, making it excellent for outdoor viewing. Now, yes, some devices do get a little bit higher, like Samsung's devices are over 2500 nits of brightness. But in all honesty, I haven't really had an issue with how bright or how dark it was. It's always been visible for me. I will mention, this may be an important detail to you, but if you live in hot areas where it tends to be warmer, the device will actually dim somewhat quickly, right? So if it's on max brightness, if you're recording videos, if it's kind of hot outside, sunny, there is going to be a time when it starts to dim down because the device is getting too hot. Now, of course, if you don't leave the brightness on max, that can maybe help a little bit. So if somebody asks me, like, why would I get the iPhone 15 Pro when I could buy an iPhone 14 Pro for a lot cheaper? I tell them, it really depends on what you want. If you have the money, go ahead and buy the new one because it's going to last you longer. But if you're on a budget, for example, buy the older one. It'll last for almost as long. It is still very high quality, and you save a little bit of money in the end anyway. But alongside them being upgraded every year, the processor on the inside is upgraded every year too. Now, yes, Apple's done some really weird things with the base model iPhones, giving it the same processor as from the year before. A lot of companies could not get away with that, so it's kind of funny that iPhone can. But either way, as each iPhone increases in year, so does the processor. And right now, my phone, the 15 Pro Max, is running the A17 Pro chip, the successor to the A16 Bionic. What does that mean to you? Not that much, if I'm being honest, because year after year, the processing power does not really gain that much. Now, if Apple does something insane like they did from Intel to M1 in the MacBooks, yes, a year after year process update is awesome because it's a huge upgrade. But I'm also saying that going from an iPhone 15 Pro to an iPhone 14 Pro, or really vice versa, the difference is not going to really be very noticeable. It's good to have that extra power, but you're not gonna super notice that. Now, I'm not gonna bore you with a bunch of different numbers and benchmarks because we know that, right? We know it's more powerful. But I want to talk about for the people who are just using this device as a device for day-to-day tasks, browsing social media, taking photos and videos, maybe some gaming. Overall, it works great. You could get a phone from 2 or 3 years ago that still works just as well on almost all of that. So no, I haven't really noticed any major differences going from an iPhone 13 Pro to a 15 Pro Max. I will say having more RAM does actually improve things a little bit, keeping apps open longer in the background. But overall, performance really, like, it's great for the past like 3 or 4 devices. So like, you're good. Now remember at the beginning of the video where I was like, there's a couple things that I am not a huge fan of or could use some work. Well, one of those is the action button. Now, don't get me wrong, it can be very useful. You know, it was like one of the biggest features for the iPhone when it got announced, and it's cool. I love the action button. Typically, what I have mine set to is to open the camera app, because if I'm being honest, I can't really find that much. Now, of course, if you guys have something awesome you make your action button do, of course, leave it in the comments. I would love to know. But I just haven't really had a crazy need for much at all, really. I've had it set to open different apps before, but you know, it would be awesome. I've heard people say, like, if you could double press it or triple press it or something else along those lines to have different actions, I think that would be a lot more useful. So as of right now, I just do feel like the action button is lacking a little bit. Now this one might be a bit of a hot take, but the dynamic island is one of those things. Now don't get me wrong, it's awesome and it is very useful. I've found lots of great uses for it as I'm multitasking, you know, switching between certain apps that use it as a live activity. So it can be very useful. I just right now feel, even though it's been out for almost 2 years at this point, a year and a half, it is definitely lacking in what I feel like it could be possible of doing. You know, some apps like, you know, Chick-fil-A telling you how far your order is from being done, like, that's pretty cool. But there's other things I feel like it could be used for that it's just not being taken advantage of right now. So I totally look forward to seeing it be upgraded in the future, but as of right now, I don't have a huge need for it. And then lastly, believe it or not, is the transition to USB-C. Now, don't get mad at me. I do love USB-C. I'm very glad Apple adopted it, and I'm glad to maybe fit in with the Android gang. However, the issue you run into when you switch it all of a sudden is things don't work with each other. Like, I can't borrow my friend's or family's charger. You know, it's hard to connect things with other people's devices when everyone else has an iPhone with Lightning and I'm the only one that has USB-C. And there are some cool perks like being able to reverse charge someone else's device. You know, it's like 5 watts or less. It's not much, but there's some awesome things. Obviously, the speed of USB-C is fantastic, and I really do appreciate that. However, as of right now, when most people don't have a USB-C iPhone, it can get in the way of things. But hey, I mean, that's really about it. So this was like my 6 months with the iPhone. I'll continue to use it and make more reviews on it. But this is just what I've noticed. You know, there's some awesome things, but there's also some things that could use some work. So I hope you guys did enjoy this video, and if you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and hit the bell, as it helps me out an absolute ton. And leave a comment. Let me know what you guys thought. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see y'all in the next one. So yeah, bye guys.